Welcome to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities, presented by Century Martial Arts, the world leader in martial arts since 1976. CenturyMartialArts.com for everything that is martial arts.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Label. I'm JD.
I'm Charlie Murphy.
I'm Paul Graber.
Hey, Paul, thanks for joining us here tonight. But we're glad you're here. Daryl's got some fantastic things to say about you. Charlie, what's that little bit of background that you had on Paul there?
Paul was diagnosed at the age of 2 with cerebral palsy and basically just limiting his mobility, changing his whole sense of balance, everything, and just having to deal with surgeries and the physical therapies. Finally able to walk at the age of 5. Is that correct?
That's actually the heel cord surgery. Everything was, I had got everything on track. And they found out years later that if they had just stuck with physical therapy and skipped the surgery, I might walk a little better. But, they did the best they could. So, but yeah.
But we're going back, almost 50 years, right? I mean, the technology has advanced quite a bit since then.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Basically, it also says here you started a business at the age of 18. Wow, holy cow! What were you doing?
Actually, I came up with a cartoon character, and this was, of course, long before clip art and all your digital media and everything. This is back when people did their logo and graphic design was all done by hand.
Right.
And I used to design logos for people, and I had a cartoon character that I thought was going to be the next big thing. And I have a lawyer friend of mine that drew up the articles of incorporation for us and all that. And, it was a good time, and I made a little bit of money off of it, but as with anything, was a little naive and went in partners with some people that weren't as motivated as I was. And it didn't quite go as big as I thought, but it was a learning experience. And it was a lot of fun. So
what was the character?
I was called a snit, and it's a little furball guy. And the story behind it was they live inside of pool balls, billiard balls.
Okay.
And they had little attitudes, and it was, like any cartoon character, I'd do different versions of them, like different movies that were popular at the time, like RoboCop and, different, martial arts snit, just any kind of take on them. And I would do, little smart aleck comic strips with them and things like that. And we almost made it into the local paper down here.
Oh,
but,
nice.
But unfortunately, the Courage Journal ended up backing out last minute. We actually met with them and talked about it, and they kind of got my hopes up, and then last minute changed their mind, I think, because they didn't feel like paying a kid to draw for them. But
yeah. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Hey, but, you give it a shot. Yeah. You can always go back and do that sometime.
It was a great learning experience, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So
nice.
So, Paul, as I sit here and listen to the intro, and I kind of did that on purpose to kind of let Charlie do that, because I guess I'm a member of Club CP2, I guess we would say, and so I wanted to kind of hear how things were for you. It sounds like from that little brief blurb there that our stories are somewhat similar. And what intrigues me about your story versus mine is that you've got a little bit longer in the tooth there, and so I'm looking at you to get some info, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like you, I mean, I was born with cerebral palsy, and we both know that the thing with cerebral palsy is the main label. And then there are varying different degrees of cerebral palsy, and it sounds like you were stricken a little less severe maybe than me. So I've got forearm crutches. I had hamstring and hip release surgery. They didn't mess with my heel cords at all. Do you use any assisted devices or no?
No. If I'm going to go somewhere where I'm going to be standing for a long period of time, or if there's going to be a whole lot of walking involved, I do have a manual chair, and there's no shame in my game because, I'd rather be comfortable. But other than that, I just have my own unique little stride, and I just hobble around and get point A to point B just fine.
I'd almost like to find out how you what you thought about your exercise routine. But for me, it was tough. It wasn't comfortable. I didn't do it. What kid does, And so I did just enough to get by, and then I did the surgery, got out of the chair, and kind of changed my ways a little bit, and that's where things kind of started to come together. What's your take on physical therapy? Is it somewhat similar?
Well, very, very similar. As a youngster, it was too much like work. It wasn't any fun. It was painful, and I didn't really want to do it. And after a while, Mom got tired of fighting with me about it, and she's like, "Okay, if you want to deteriorate, you want to let your condition get worse, fine. That's on you." And I really, on my own accord, long about the time I was probably 22, is when I really started noticing that my sedentary lifestyle and my poor diet choices and things like that were really starting to have an adverse effect on my ability to move and walk. And something just clicked. And that's when I just decided enough was enough. And that's when I started working out. And then a year or so later is when I started martial arts and all that. So yeah, I was very much like you. Physical therapy was not my thing. It was something that, like any kid, I just didn't want any part of it. But once reality set in, I was like, okay, we need to do something.
And it's one of those things too, and I hear that, and again, it parallels. It's like, once you reach the age of 18, it's like you age out of services, so you're kind of on your own to figure it out. And I did okay and manage, but it was around that same time where you just start to get a little smarter, and you say, I got to do something because I don't want to go back in that chair. And you realize that there are a lot of people that put a lot of work and time into you to help you stay out of that chair, and that's where I found martial arts. Now, I can't fib to our listeners. We had a little bit of phone call this afternoon, and it was pretty intriguing to me how you got involved in martial arts. Most people will have some sort of a reason that I wanted to better my health or blah 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 blah. And your answer to me was like, hey, yeah, this guy shoots straight. Like this is the real reason that 95% of people get involved in martial arts. And I know Charlie's told our listeners before his little story, his little claim to fame with martial arts, but he's got to tell you so that you appreciate why he is here.
Well, number one, I'm half Japanese, so I'm already, half trained in the martial arts, apparently.
Right.
Growing up, kids, they would pick on me and they call me, Charlie Chan or Kung Fu or, something like this. And growing up, you just take that stuff in stride. You can't let that stuff bother you. You can't let it get to you. I didn't go and cry because I was being bullied and all this nonsense. You just, you be bigger than it and you overcome it. And anyway, so, I've always kind of been interested in martial arts anyway, but once I got older and I was looking for a job, I applied for a position at a karate studio. They were looking for a karate instructor. So I went in, no experience whatsoever. And they said, okay, well, you're hired. You just have to purchase a gi. I was
Okay.
like, well, I'm here to, get a job because I'm broke. I don't have any money. I need a job. How much is the gi? And they told me, I said, I can't afford to do that. So, but thank you. And I do appreciate the opportunity. And that was I was almost a sensei.
So Paul, now tell us your story. Tell them what a real story sounds like, man.
It's a real story. That happened.
Well, now I will say that my initial love for martial arts did start with the old Kung Fu television show, the one with David Carradine.
Oh yeah.
That was my first exposure to martial arts. But then I had been a lifelong fan, but I didn't really get into it until I was 24. And there again, it started out because I wanted to. I was already working out, but I wanted to learn how to fight. That was straight up the reason why I got into martial arts, is I wanted to fight. Because when I was in high school, I had attempted to help a friend of mine who was being assaulted by some other people, and I tried to intervene on her behalf. And I found out the hard way that sometimes the good guy gets his butt kicked. And that's what I told my instructors, that I had no desire whatsoever to be the school mascot or the feel good story or anything like that. I was here to learn how to fight. And that's what he gave me. And I was very, very thankful for that. Because even with my cerebral palsy, he was able to turn all the kicks in Shaolin Do's material into knees or elbows, and made sure that all my techniques were done at zero distance. And, I grab a hold of you and we go to the ground. And it wasn't a jiu-jitsu based type of thing. It was completely different from jiu-jitsu. There was no guard. There was, nothing like that. But it was very much customized to what worked for me. And it's done very well for me. So I really owe them a lot.
Now you actually, you've competed?
Yes. I've competed several times. And one of my most proud moments was at the Arnold Classic. I worked for Rest Care for a time, and they got wind because I was teaching our clients at Rest Care. I was teaching martial arts classes there and fitness classes there. And they thought that it would be a good idea for me to attend the Arnold Classic, since they had a disabled division in their martial arts tournament. And so I was like, okay, great. Well, when I got up there, it was really not good. I was really disappointed in it. It was a great feel good story, but there was no legitimate combat techniques being taught to these people whatsoever. It was all, waving their arms. It was strictly for morale and for, it was all just the uplifting of emotional side of it. And I met another guy by the name of Ron Mann, who worked for a prosthetics company. He was an amputee who had lost his leg from the knee, his left leg from the knee down in a motorcycle accident. And he was also an amateur mixed martial artist. He was an MMA fighter. Well, he was equally disappointed with the quality of the disabled division in the Arnold Classic. So he and I decided that we were going to put on an exhibition, and we were going to do it full contact. Well, the referees at the Arnold, because of insurance reasons, they said they couldn't let us go at it straight UFC style, full out like that. But what they could do is, if one of us got a clear advantage due to strikes, they would break us and stand us back up, and that guy would get a point. If somebody got a submission and tapped, then they'd stand us back up, and that guy would get a point. And at the end of 3 minutes, whoever was ahead in points, that would be the winner. And they did say, now, we can't tell you how hard to hit each other. If you guys want to knock the snot out of each other, that's all well and good. But this is how we're going to have to do it. And if that's the way you want to do it, that's how we'll do it. And that's how we did it. And at the end of 3 minutes, yours truly was the victor.
Nice. All right. That's what we like to hear.
And I can tell you that getting kicked with a prosthetic leg, especially one that's made out of titanium, hurts really, really bad.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
I might have an idea of what getting hit with an aluminum baseball bat feels like.
Yeah, I bet.
No, my friend, he's a great guy.
So, Paul, you touched on a couple of things there as you were going through and talking. You talked about physical fitness, and for me, growing up, my brother lifted weights, and I always wanted to lift with him, and the physical therapist was like, no, you can't. It's going to go against what we're trying to do.
I hate that.
Things like that. Like today, they're like, no, they're seeing the benefits of it. But back then, they didn't really see the benefit of it. They didn't have the research wasn't there. Did you experience the same type?
Yes, actually, I did. I was very fortunate. The orthopedic doctor I was going to, he was supportive of my martial arts training. But I did have several physical therapists that were like, you shouldn't do squats, you shouldn't lift weights, you shouldn't, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. And it all ended up being completely inaccurate information. And I realized that their heart was in the right place. They were trying to prevent me from injuring myself and things like that. And they were only going off what they knew at the time. But as you say, we know so differently now, so much so that physical activity and weight training benefits everybody, regardless of, your disability or your age level or whatever. If you can find a way to do it, the benefits far outweigh any kind of limitations that people want to place on you. So.
Most definitely. And I know that you, this afternoon, you just talked to when we were talking on the phone, you had to run because you were teaching a kettlebell class. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, actually, I wasn't teaching a class. I was actually the guest of the gentleman who founded the organization on my shirt, the International Kettlebell Fitness Federation. His name is Steve Cotter, and he's actually a world famous fitness and kettlebell person, and he's also a very accomplished martial artist. And we've been friends for about 18 years, and about 13 years ago is when he certified me as a kettlebell instructor, and he's also currently one of my martial arts instructors as well. And kettlebells are one of the greatest tools I've ever found for weight training and overall fitness, not just for my own issues with cerebral palsy, but for my able-bodied clients as well, because there's such a total body workout. It's very convenient. You can use the same movements, and to go up in difficulty, all you got to do is use a heavier bell, and it's just a wonderful and very effective and actually very safe way to work out and get strong. And I love it, and I'm very, very fortunate to be associated with Steve and his organization, to have him train me.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I have a next door neighbor. Her brother has been visiting, and I see him out there in the yard working out with these things, and I'm like, it really doesn't. I've always used, either curl bar, dumbbells, a bench, different types of things like that. Never tried the kettlebell, and I'm looking at him thinking, well, he's using a lot of momentum. He's swinging his hips, but he's kind of using that to rock the bell, up in front of him and back down and stuff.
The kettlebell swing. That's one of the best exercises on the planet.
Yeah, I was watching him and I looking at him, and I haven't tried it yet, but I'm thinking, man, he's really working it. He's working hard, and you can kind of tell he's getting a good workout in.
Now, I'm not going to plug myself because I know you guys are far away from Kentucky, but if you do get into kettlebells, I do recommend finding a qualified instructor, because you can do a lot of traditional lifts with kettlebells, like deadlifts, snatches, cleans and jerks, things of that nature. But there's also things like the kettlebell swing, the Turkish get up, and different things like that you really should at least seek out qualified instruction for, just so you can get a good foundation for your training. But in particular, the kettlebell swing is one of the greatest exercises ever devised by man. I mean, it's wonderful. I can put you through a 2-minute swing routine that will flat trash you.
Yeah. All right. You gonna try that, Jason?
Should we give that a
try? Hey, we're here with Paul Graber, and this is Beyond the Label. It's sponsored by Century Martial Arts, the world leader in martial arts since 1976. Jason, we got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back here, and we'll get some more information, more in-depth conversation with Paul Graber right here on Beyond the Label.
Beyond the Label, presented by Century Martial Arts, for everything that is martial arts. It's no secret, every martial artist, no matter their age, dreams of becoming a legend. Having their name listed among the greats like Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, and Jackie Chan. You can hide it or deny it, but you know it's true. Being a legend takes raw talent, dedication, big breaks, and an ability to survive a roller coaster called fame. But it also takes one more thing to go with it: the best gear and equipment in the world. From the company that is martial arts, Century Martial Arts. They aren't just another martial arts supplier that's never set foot on a mat. They are martial artists, and that means they know their products and use what they sell. From uniforms and training gear to weapons and equipment, Century has it all for every martial arts style. Although you may never be listed among the greats, you can still shop like one at CenturyMartialArts.com and unleash your legend within. Century Martial Arts, the world leader in martial arts since 1976. You're listening to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities, presented by Century Martial Arts. Check them out at CenturyMartialArts.com.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Label. I'm JD.
I'm Charlie Murphy.
And the fun is always the stuff that doesn't make the air. I'll tell you that.
We got our special guest with us today, Paul Graber. And Paul, you were diagnosed with cerebral palsy back, 40 plus years ago when you were about 2 years old, was it?
Yeah, about 50 years ago, because I'm 52. So yeah.
No, you're 50. Okay. So I just had a question. I know I've been around Jason for a number of years now. I see how it has affected him, his mobility, etc. I see sometimes I see the wheels are spinning up here, and it sometimes it takes him a minute to get from here to his hand or to his mouth. There's, sometimes there's a little bit of a delay. Things are wired a little bit differently. And so what are your major issues? Your legs, is that
Yeah,
the prime?
my legs are the biggest issue. My left leg in particular, my particular CP is spastic CP, and my left leg is affected a little more than the other. And my legs kind of draw in. My knees are kind of knocked together, and my hip flexors don't move very well. And I kind of stand like an S.
Okay. All right.
But and if I'm not careful, I'll drag my right foot just a little bit. I have to really make a conscious effort to pick my foot up and deliberately put it down. And if I catch myself slacking, it'll drag on its own if I don't make it happen.
That sounds about like Jason at times. And
Yeah, it's and definitely later in the evening is a little bit tougher. But we make it through, and just so our listeners kind of understand, so cerebral palsy in a nutshell is a lack of oxygen either before, during, or shortly after birth. So essentially, it's essentially brain damage, and it, depending on how long your brain was without oxygen, is how severe the cerebral palsy will be. That little tidbit I gave you is probably as much as I know about CP, and I know I sounded like a smart guy there, but that was from a fourth grade report, so it's the best I can tell you.
yeah, and it does obviously affects people differently. If you're able to get around without crutches, Jason's been on them for as long as I've known him, and it's just everybody's a little bit different. And then when it comes to the physical aspects, there's certain things that your body can do, certain things that it can't, and therefore you got to train differently. And I don't know that Jason would be able to train. Well, I depending on what the exercise would be, but to do the kettlebell thing that you're talking about, I mean, he's not standing on his own without.
I'd have him doing them. I'd have him doing them.
Yeah. All right. Okay. You're gonna have to send us some info, because I want to see him do this.
Well, and I do have a lot of experience adapting kettlebells and martial arts for folks with disabilities. That's what I specialize in doing. So
perfect.
The thing is, Paul, and what we're trying to get through with this podcast is that it's important to include folks with disabilities, and it's important to provide opportunities, but it's also important for individuals with disabilities to take advantage of those opportunities. And now with the wonders of Zoom and what our organization does, I mean, we're a network resource for individuals that want to get involved in martial arts and physical fitness. We'll help you do it. We'll help. If there's an instructor out there, we'll teach you how to train individuals with disabilities, because I founded the organization because I don't want to see another 8-year-old child like myself be turned away over the phone. So we need to provide that support, and that's what we do as an organization. And we're glad to have you as a part of it.
I'm very fortunate and glad that I found you guys, because my heart's in the same place right there with you. I want to make sure that, especially young people with or without disabilities have access to training in martial arts. And especially, I think it's very important for those with disabilities that may have some apprehension, because a lot of us are self-conscious about our appearance and about the things that we're not able to do. And we may have that even more so when it comes to going to a gym and starting on that first journey of physical fitness, or especially reaching out, and trying to go to that first martial arts class, or that first karate class, or whatever. And I really hope that our listeners can really see the benefit in overcoming that fear and taking that first step, whether it's going to the gym or going to that martial arts class. Do it, because especially those of us with disabilities, staying active and keeping moving and maintaining the freedom of movement and the abilities that we do have right now is so much more crucial even than those who are able-bodied. So, that it's so key. And I'm so glad that, that you exist and that there's a growing network of those of us that can help folks with disabilities not have that apprehension and really experience the benefits of working out and martial arts.
And Paul, before the break, we kind of touched on it, and we talked about the old myths of physical therapy from the 70s and 80s, and I just want to make sure that we're clear here. Paul and I aren't trying to tell you, and Charlie's not trying to tell you to abandon your physical therapist and your physical therapy routine. We're telling you that what we found was the combination of a traditional physical therapy routine along with working out in a gym and doing some martial arts. That's an unstoppable combination, and that's what this is. It's a team effort, and you've got to be part of your own team. Nobody's gonna change your life for you but you. So you got to make the first step, and sometimes it's tough and it's scary. And what was your first experience of when you popped into a dojo and said, hey, I'm Paul, I got CP, and I'm ready to come and kick butt and take names?
Here's exactly how it went. I met with my instructor, Master John, and told him what I wanted to do. And the first words out of his mouth were, are you familiar with the phrase, be careful what you ask for? And I said, yes, I am. And he said, because if you want to learn how to fight, if that's what you want, in order for that to happen, you're going to go home sore. I'm going to work you out. And along the way, you're going to end up getting punched. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get bumps, bruises, and all kinds of stuff. And if you're not willing to do that, then, we're not going to get much done. And I'm not going to lie. With all my enthusiasm and all my desire to be a martial artist and learn how to fight and all that, my very first class walking into the door, I did feel self-conscious. I felt like that first little kid when I first went to school and everybody's staring at you, and I still, I love martial arts and I wanted to do it, so I'm going to do it. Well, my first class, I fell on my butt so many times. Oh my goodness. And there was one time, guys, during my very first class that I honestly thought, did I bite off more than I can chew? Am I really a flippin' idiot for even trying to do this?
Well, your first class went better than mine. I don't know if I ever told you this story, Charlie, but so my instructor was a friend of mine. I'd grown up with her kids, and so she'd known me. I was on the rescue squad with her, and I said, can I train in martial arts? Because I was told that I couldn't. Sure, Jay, you can do anything you want. I said, okay, I'll be over on Tuesday. She goes, I only have kids classes. I said, that's fine. She goes, well, why don't you come in for a private first? And so I went in and I said, thanks for doing this for me. I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity. I said, but there's something you got to know before we get started. I said, I've got older brothers, I said, and I've never been beat by and that's as much as I got out of my mouth. The next phrase was going to be girl, and she had my face in the mat so fast. She said, just so that you understand who's in charge when we're in the dojo, it's me. I said, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So that was the first class for me.
Yeah, I went to a couple of Jason's classes, and it was very cool because, with walking on crutches and basically his arms are his legs most of the time, I'm thinking to myself, even still, after I said, well, how the heck are you going to do martial arts? So I wanted to see it actually play out. And there were when he was doing some of his kata, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
He was doing it from a chair in a seated position, and it was just very cool how they worked with him and adapted the whole thing to him. And granted, he would get his butt kicked by 8 and 10-year-olds all the time, but he was in there giving his best.
Actually, I believe you called me Kramer. Was that not it?
I don't remember that. But
Yeah, I do.
Kramer.
Kramer. Seinfeld. Look it up.
Yeah, I remember.
I knew Kramer.
Yeah, well, he was in a class with a bunch of 8 and 10-year-olds, and then they all jumped him.
So I have to tell you about that. And since you brought it up, really, that was a good experience for both me and the kids, I think, because through school for me, you know, all my friends kind of accepted it, and they took me as normal. Like I had a wheelchair at the time. They put me in the wheelchair. We'd have them run as fast as they could, and they'd roll it down the hill. And I mean, we actually were threatened to be suspended because they said I was going to get hurt, and they were going to suspend the whole bunch, even me, because they knew I was kind of egging them on. So I had always assumed that from that point forward, with schools and things, that the kids would be more aware of disabilities. And for a lot of those students, I was the first exposure that they had to disabilities.
Right.
And so, they taught me as much as I taught them, and it was just good. And I still have some of those same friendships, today. It's just an experience that I'll never forget, and it really opened the door for me. When you're starting to do things that you were told that you couldn't do, or you shouldn't do, or that you thought you couldn't do, you begin to build confidence, and you build confidence in your abilities, and you're more suited to put yourself out there. So it all kind
Exactly.
of wraps together.
And it's something that I point out to my students with disabilities too. When they're struggling to learn the next kata or to do the next move, I ask them, does everybody do martial arts? And they say no. Well, why do you think that is? Because it's hard.
You remember the old, it was on, there was an ad, and it was on the back of the old comic books, and it was about a guy on a beach, and he gets sand kicked in his face.
Yep,
And then so,
yep.
yeah, exactly. So next thing you know, the guy's starting to work out, and lifting weights, I gotta say, is not only does it help you physically, but mentally, and
Oh,
all of
for
a
sure.
sudden, you've got this huge confidence. All of a sudden, you're talking to that girl that you never would have talked to before, and you're not bothered by the bully who was always in your face saying this or saying that, because all of a sudden you're bigger than this guy, and
Right.
in your head that if you wanted to, you could just whatever, take. Yeah, right, exactly. So there's a lot to be said for it. A body in motion stays in motion, and that's the whole thing right there. It's words to live by, because it's absolutely 100% true.
And that's something that I'm learning, because Jason touched on that earlier. I am a little bit older than he is. And that's something that I'm really starting to treasure as I age, because I'm on the downside of 50. I'm on the other side of 50 now, and I don't want to even fathom or even want to consider what my physical condition would be like now if I had not had martial arts and kettlebells to keep me moving and to keep me strong. Because those of us who have cerebral palsy or other disabilities, we're already physically at a disadvantage. So for those of us in that situation already, to develop a sedentary lifestyle, that's a death sentence. A sedentary lifestyle is bad for even someone who's able-bodied. But for those of us who already kind of started out with some challenges, to be sedentary, we're going to check out even faster. And not to mention our quality of life is just going to plummet.
Yeah.
So just don't stop moving. Rather it's martial arts or kettlebells or Zumba or jumping rope or walking in the park or playing with your dog or playing with your kids. Move, get up out of the chair, turn off the damn TV.
Yeah,
No.
that's the point here, really. Martial arts and kettlebells and working out and lifting, those are all just the vehicle to just being active and allowing yourself to to look past your disability and say, what do I want to do, and how am I gonna do it? You know,
Exactly.
and when you look at it and you go, how am I gonna do it? That's that for me. That's the fun part, because you're like, man, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but they said I couldn't, so how am I gonna do it? And you really have to. It's like problem solving. So uh, I guess my advice to our listeners would be to find that thing you want to do a little bit of problem solving, do some research, because there's always somebody out there that's willing to help you. They may be a little apprehensive at first. Don't take that to heart. You have to understand that it's only been, I would say, and you can agree or disagree, Paul, but it's only been probably the last 10 to 15 years where really mindsets have really changed around disabilities, and people have been more accepting and understanding and wanting to learn. So use it. If you're somebody with a disability, it's your job to make them comfortable and teach them.
I absolutely agree with that. And for those who are watching or listening who might be thinking, well, my disability is too severe. I couldn't, I wouldn't even know where to start. There are two things that if I could go back, even before I started martial arts, if I could go back and do them, these two simple things could change everyone's life, not just from a martial arts standpoint, but just your life in general. And that would be, first and foremost, to eat clean, to pay attention to what you put in your body. Get rid of processed foods, get rid of sugar, and eat clean. Eat meats, eat vegetables, eat clean fruits, clean nuts. Everything is as clean as possible. Do that and meditate. Do those two things, and your entire life will change. It'll change the way you feel. It'll change the way you look. It'll change the way you think. And those two things, regardless of your physical ability, are two things that we can all do. Meditating is easy. It's breathing with focus, and with a little bit of willpower and a tiny bit of effort, we can control what we put in our mouth. So,
nicely said.
Absolutely. Well said.
Every time I try and meditate, I start meditating and start thinking about food.
No. Steve, now, Charlie, I'm going to share something with your listeners real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm going to share a simple meditative technique with you.
All right.
Now, I'm not talking about mindfulness and all that. That stuff's great and it works for other things, but I'm talking about legit meditation here from a Chinese martial arts standpoint. You know where your navel is, right? Your belly button?
Yeah.
Well, if the tip of my finger is my belly button, I'm going to put two fingers directly underneath my belly button.
Okay.
The spot that your two fingers cover up, that is called your Tantien in Chinese martial arts. Chinese martial artists believe that that's where all your energy gathers when you breathe. Okay.
All right.
Now, coincidentally, from a physical standpoint, that's also where your center of gravity is located. That's why your spot's different than mine, my spot's different than Jason's, and so on. Now, the little bony V right here at the bottom of your throat?
Yep.
See where the point comes to right there?
Yeah.
I want you to think about the Tantien is the bottom of your glass, and that bony V right there, the point, is the top of your glass. Now, I want you to sit up nice and straight.
Okay.
And I want you to breathe. And I want you to breathe to the bottom of your glass. And I want you to breathe all the way full to right here. And when you get here, I want you to breathe all the way empty. Now, I want you to breathe in and out again. Only this time when you start breathing in, I want you to start counting. And when you get full to here, I want you to stop counting. And then when you breathe out, I want you to count backwards from whatever number you stopped at all the way back down to 0. Do it.
Okay.
What was your number?
I was at 9.
Okay. The number is completely arbitrary. The number is irrelevant. Your number is going to be different than Jason's number. My number is going to be different than Jason's number. The point of the number is to make sure that your inhale and your exhale are the exact same length.
Okay.
That's the secret. That's what makes meditative breathing different than mindfulness breathing and just sitting there chilling, is making sure that your inhale and your exhale are the same length. Now I'm going to address the thing that you said earlier about your brain getting all Well, that's the number one stumbling block to why nobody meditates, because everybody wants to start doing it, and all of a sudden they're Buddha and they're sitting there for an hour looking all peaceful and stuff, and it don't work that way. So what you do with that number that I just gave you, Charlie, is when you first start meditating, do it for 3 minutes a day. 3 minutes. Don't worry about what goes on in your head. Pay attention only to your number. 9 in, 9 out. 9 in, 9 out for 3 minutes. Do 4 minutes the next day, 5 minutes the next day. And for that first little bit, let your brain do whatever it wants. You're just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 9, 8. All you're worried about is your number. Now, after a little bit, you're not going to be worrying about your number so much. You're just going to start feeling your breath. And then after a while, you won't even be feeling your breath. And then after a while, you're going to notice that your brain isn't yelling anymore, and you're just sitting there chilling. And then you're really meditating.
All right.
But that's how you do it. You do it in little increments and start out with 3 minutes and only focus on your number. That's how you don't get discouraged, and that's how you do it right.
All right. Okay. I'm going to give it a go.
Hey.
Thank you.
Hey,
And I
Paul,
promise you, if you do that every day, I promise you in a week from today, you will notice a difference. I promise.
All right. Cool.
Hey, Paul, just about time to wrap up here, but from one CP fella to another, since you're the guy that's a little bit longer in the tooth, what kind of I know I keep throwing that in your
He thinks
face.
he's so much younger than you.
I got almost a decade on him, so he's
What kind of advice would you give me?
Would I give you? Stay on the path that you're on. Keep moving, and like I say, keep your diet clean and keep your head right, man, because those things are going to serve you well. I mean, whether we're 50, 60, 70, as long as we keep moving and keep breathing, because, everything is just energy vibrating at a different speed. So when we're meditating and breathing, our breath is energy as well. So if we're controlling our energy and we learn how to master that as we age, that's how we're going to be able to keep moving and keep doing what we're doing, even when we're 60, 70, 80 years old. And that's the advice I would give you and anybody else that's younger than me, is watch what you put in your body and watch what you put in your brain.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thank you for being here. If people want to get in touch with you, learn more about what you do, what's the best way to do that?
You can find me on Instagram at Laozu, Laotzu 1969, or you can find me on Facebook as Paul Graber, and you can reach me at bentmonk, BENTMONK at hotmail.com, or you can call me at 502-356-4011.
Charlie, you got all that contact info?
Man, that's very cool stuff. We definitely appreciate you taking the time with us, and send Jason this kettlebell stuff, because I want to see him doing it.
Send it to Charlie first. He's always daring me to do stuff.
Well, what I'll do is I'll take a road trip and I'll come and work out with both of you. How's that?
There we go.
Man.
There we go.
I'll just make a road trip out of it.
Bring some of that moonshine you guys got down there.
Hey, yeah. well, now, what's in Vermont? What's in Vermont to come see besides you guys?
Maple syrup. We'll swap you maple syrup for Kentucky bourbon. That's what we'll do.
Hey, that's a good trade, because
Okay.
maple syrup and honey are my two favorite sweeteners, because I'm a strict paleo diet guy. So.
Oh, nice. Okay, we'll send you out some.
All right, well, guys, this has been a genuine pleasure. I really enjoyed myself.
Same here.
Thank you so much for having me. We'll do it again if you want.
Oh, definitely.
All right.
And what I'd like to do in a future episode is maybe get my personal trainer on here, get your trainer on here, and kind of get their perspective of what it's like to work with two guys like us, and see what their feelings are, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, I think that'd be awesome. I think our listeners would probably get a kick out of that too. So.
All righty, man. Hey, so we'll definitely be in touch. And again, thanks to Daryl for hooking up this interview tonight. And we'll definitely be in touch. We want to definitely get you more involved in the AMAA and what we got going on. So we'll talk.
That'll be my pleasure. I'm glad to have met you guys, and this has been excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, same here. Appreciate it. Paul Graber, thank you so much. And you've been listening to Beyond the Label, brought to you by Century Martial Arts, the world leader in martial arts since 1976. Jason, it's been cool.
Another one in the books, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, till next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Label. If you would like to be a guest on an upcoming episode, email contact@adaptivemartialarts.org. Beyond the Label is produced by JD Production and presented by Century Martial Arts, the world leader in martial arts since 1976. CenturyMartialArts.com for everything that is martial arts.